Hi, I'm Ellis of Ellis Clark Trains.
Good morning, I'm Chris of Ellis Trains.
This is the first in a series of videos we're going to be doing. It's going to be talking about what we do, what we've done, what we've got planned coming out. Mostly in O gauge, but other scales as well, of course. With this being the first video, we thought we'd start with the Darstaed Mk1 mainlines, which have been out for about 4 years now, and sort of talk a little bit about those and how it all began, what's happened since then, what we've still got in stock, how they're put together, and a bit about ourselves and Dastard, which is where I'll start. So Darstaed is a company that we started dealing with, like I say, around 4 or 5 years ago now, and they basically approached me and said, "Would you be interested as being in an exclusive distributor of a new range of Finescale models that we want to produce for the O gauge market?" And basically said we're starting with the Mark 1 coaches, mainline coaches, and the full brakes. Would you be interested in stocking them? And we talked at length. They told me about the plans, where they want to go, what they want to do. And basically the sort of construction methodology of them, again, which we'll talk about a little bit more. And it sounded really exciting, and I liked the way where it was going. So we agreed, and basically the Mark 1 mainline coaches, they started stocking them with. We started stocking them alongside another brand called Scale Link. We're now 4 years on. Since those, we then had an exclusive run of Mark 1 suburban coaches, which we had way more hands-on sort of
Approach with
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Exactly. But we'll start with the Mark 1 mainlines today because that was the first product we had with them, and go from there. We've also got Chris, who's been here 2.5 months now. Really interesting to bring him on board. Obviously, is the face of Myog, who I'm sure many of you are aware of. I'll sort of hand over to a little bit to Chris, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's interesting coming in from sort of the outside.
Yeah.
Prior to this, we dealt through Myog, hadn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a review of the Mk1s and the Suburbans on our website. But it's interesting to comprehend the range. You don't get a grasp of what there is realistically. Looking through the website, you can get a little bit lost, can't you, through the colours. And so I think it's best to start with what you produce, well, what Darstaed produce and what we sell.
Yeah.
As in coach type.
Yeah, exactly. Totally agree. That's one of the best things about the Darstaed coaches that we do with them is instead of being plastic molded sides, they're etched brass.
Yeah.
So we can do much shorter runs of certain coach types. So what that means basically is we can get way more coach classes. For example, we've got Taurus Second Opens, BSKs, BSOs, BCKs, RMBs, RUs, RSOs, to name a few. We can also do, well, for example, we've got the blood and custard ones here, and you won't be able to see on the camera, but they're produced without the window frames around them. Whereas all the later liveries, including like your BR Maroon, your Blue and Grey, of course, Intercity, things like that, they're all produced with the window frames around them. So that's one of the big bonuses of doing brass sides, like I say. You can do much shorter runs of different coaches, and it also opens us up in the future to do sort of a few funkier liveries like the West Highlands that we've done, and things like that, which we'll get one out later as well. If that one's not one, is it?
No,
nope.
It's not.
Nope.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah. So we'll start. I guess with brake ends. It's the best place to start. So the BGs. So we do the full brakes, the BGs, and they come in a good handful of liveries. So we've got the ever popular 11 liveries. So we've got the ever popular engineers livery down to the post. There's two different types as Post and Royal Mail.
Yep, there is. Yeah.
There's an end parts green BG, a maroon, all your staples: blue and grey, maroon, blood and custard, green. The range is phenomenal.
It's really good, and it's perfect if you're building a really long rake of coaches.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you wanted to go to like a 14 coach rake or something like that, you've got the BGs that were prominent in such a large.
For a good newspaper train.
Yeah.
Blue,
that as well.
There's blue, isn't there? And they come with their own transfers.
Yep. So we do a comprehensive transfer pack.
This is a pack for a TSO, but each carriage produced comes with its own transfer pack.
Yeah.
Specific to that vehicle type. So this was, like I said, this was a TSO, and you can see it. I don't know if you can. TSO Tory second open. So there's a similar pack for the BG, which will have like the newspaper branding, appropriate running numbers for. Again, if I don't know if you can see, but we'll cut away to it anyway. You get Midland, Eastern, Western, and Southern region. Blue and grey and intercity on there, so you get a good variety of choice. And there's a good 6, 7, 8 different running numbers to choose from as well.
Ones.
So that comes included with every vehicle.
Yep, comes with every coach, and I mean that's the other thing as well. They do represent really good value for money because the mainline ones are 189 each, and the full brakes are 169, and we have some multi-buy offers on the website as well at elliscollectrains.com. But because of the way they're put together as well, with brass sides and a metal chassis, metal bogies sprung or compensated on the Mk1 bogies, that is, they're just so solid, aren't they? We don't get returns on them basically because they don't get damaged.
Yeah, I can't think of one that's ever come back whilst I've been here under 2 months.
We've
sold plenty.
In all the ones we sold, we've had about 3 come back, and all that was for the lights, one light going out or something like that. The quality control on them's incredible.
So back to the sides and the sort of luxury you get. We get from the Darstaed brass sides is being able to do small runs with different style of coaches, which I suppose can lead us on to the sleeper cars.
Yeah, exactly. Sleepers. Yeah. They were again, they're a bit of an unusual one, and you can tell from like the roofs, for example, how different and how much extra, basically gubbins as you call it, is on there. But also the interiors have bunk beds in every one. Yeah. They're removable as well, so you can turn them into, basically we supply them. In this state they're a sleeper second, but you can turn them into a composite or first just by removing the bunk beds. What happened in real life, pretty much, to be honest. But yeah, like you say, the short coach runs that we can do is brilliant for doing, well, for example, intercity livery, doing those. And obviously with, like you say, all the different liveries we've got on the BGs as well. Yeah. But it's great for the future as well because we're constantly improving, and now that we're really hands-on with Dastard and we work in the future more closely with research and design, and hence why you've come on board here as well to put more emphasis on the research side and stuff. It's pretty exciting.
I've got ideas for future. I'm sure a lot of people get excited about. But again, if you're watching this and you think, I want a Mk1 in this particular livery, and you think it's a great idea, send us a message, send us an email. Yeah. Come into the shop. The showroom's open now, Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. Yeah. You're more than welcome to call in. And if you think, like I say, if you think of a livery and you think it'd be a brilliant one that we may have overlooked, it's easily done with the projects we've got on hand.
Exactly.
We've got such an extensive range
to
work through. Give us a line. Let us know what you're thinking.
Well, sort of with that as well, it's probably what we'll probably do now is we'll have a little promo for him, but we could bring in Neil as well because he's weathered over 500 Darstaed Mk1s for customers now over the past 4 years.
It's extensive. It's a massive amount.
Unreal how many he's done now. I mean, the weathering on them just transforms them and lifts them another level.
This is one that these two are both ones that have been through Neil's workshop.
Yeah.
And we're really lucky in that respect that if you've not quite got the confidence, because as we said, these all come unnumbered and just as a plain sort of factory finish model, if that makes sense. And you get your transfers, but if you haven't quite got the confidence to attack them with these transfers and start putting weathering on, we do a weathering and numbering service.
Yeah.
And Neil, I mean, I'm not being one-sided here. Neil's work is absolutely immaculate. It's the level of detail he goes to.
Well, the reason he's so popular as well with the weathering, for some customers, he's done 20, 30, 40 coaches now, Mk1s.
I keep seeing the same names popping up and up.
But he loves he loves doing the bespoke side of it. He'll put little bits of extra detailing on there, or little bits of grease here or there that you know, they're not just a blow over one side and then the other. The extra bits that he does to them, the care he takes, and he'll often, if you put an order in for weathering or something like that, he'll often ring you to confirm things, see what you want, the level of it. If you want it that it's just come out of a coach wash but they've missed the chassis sort of thing, you know, he really goes to town on it, doesn't he?
So there's like, you can see on this one especially, there's sort of grease on the buffers that he puts in, grease around the axle boxes, and you probably can't see too well, but if we take closer images for you, there's rust spots on the bogies that are there, and there's rust spots where, you know, crew have kicked the doors as they've gone in, and he just goes to town where he can. Yeah. And it's never too much, is it? He just challenges himself every single time to do something different. Some of the ones, when they come in, I even think, I'm going to have to set that on myself. I can't. I know. Let somebody buy that.
Well, it's like when we always say, though, it's funny when we do stock weathered items. So, for example, we did like 5 of these, as in stock, weathered, ready to go. They sell like that. Same with the raw mails
every time,
because when you see them, they're just like, wow, that's that just lifts it. And you'll see a few on the website. We did some blue newspaper ones as well that Neil did weathered for in stock, and they don't hang about. It does add another level on top.
It's just such a bespoke finish, and like you say, if you ask him to do a train of 5, not one will be the same when they're finished. There'll be something different on every single one. It's definitely out of this world. So we'll bring in Neil and have a chat with Neil.
So we'll hand over to a little promo now, and then we'll bring Neil in and see what he's got to say.
Cool. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Right, so welcome back. I'm joined by Neil on the sofa. Oh, I'll say sofa. It's a Mk1 chair. Thank you for joining us, Neil. We're just going to try and give everybody an idea of what you do and how you do it. So I think it's fair by saying you've over 500 Darstaed Mk1s we've turned out.
So I believe, yes. So I believe when we've looked back through the list, we've done over 500. Yeah,
a fair old amount, isn't it?
It is. For one person to weather is a heck of a lot.
It's a good job. It's 9 till 5, isn't it? Monday to Friday. You wouldn't have the time otherwise.
No, I don't do any Mk1s on a weekend. In fact, my own EM gauge ones aren't even weathered.
Leave that for
somebody else
another time. Yeah. So basically, I just want to walk through with the customers and the folks watching as to what kind of service and how the service progresses, I suppose. So from the minute they place that order on the website or over the phone and select that weathered, numbered option that we provide. So where do you start with that? When it lands on your desk, what happens?
Well, the first thing, once it lands on my desk, it lands as an order with the customer details, the actual coach type. Hopefully the people that have taken the order, it could be yourself, could be me, could be some of the girls, will have specified a region. If they haven't, I will then contact the customer again and just clarify what they're wanting from either the weathering side, as in how dirty or not as the case may be, whether they're wanting a particular region number, and as you can appreciate, some people that buy are not as up on that as other people.
Yeah, of course.
You know, some people are happy with a coach being numbered in any region and aren't overly aware. So I try to gauge a little bit of what they're wanting it for, etc. And to put that into perspective, a month or two ago we had a chap that rang up and wanted a particular blood and custard coach, and it turned out he wanted it actually for preservation. It was a mainline running coach, and I went the extra mile for him, changed the bogies over to Commonwealths, which it had, but wasn't specified on the order, and also did all the axle boxes, springs, and shock absorbers in blue, red, and yellow.
Oh, I remember
As a modern, up-to-date coach. The customer was, to be honest, well impressed.
Yeah,
the weathering on that obviously was very, very minimal.
I think it's fair to say from the inside, a lot of people won't see this. They'll just see a company with people who work there, and we just provide services and it's done with. But we're both, I think it's fair to say, very passionate railway modellers, aren't we?
Yeah, we are railway modellers as well as working here. So
yeah,
we know what we would want if the tables were turned. You know, little things like if somebody orders a brake coach, I'll normally ring them up and say, would you like a screw coupling on the end?
Yeah.
They might not even think about it. Normally a BG, 9 times out of 10 I'll put screw couplings on both ends, because probably going to be running possibly in a parcels train as well as just passenger train. So little things like that we do without the customer asking, we'll contact and just check with them. You know.
So then from that point, then you've made that phone call, you've been contacted, we've got the details, you want a medium or maybe a heavy weathering. Where do you go for inspiration? So say it's like this maroon Mk1, for example.
Yeah.
Where does the inspiration come from?
On that, myself personally, I have a load of books that are the Willow Publications company over in Manchester do a lot of books based around Bradford, Leeds in the end of steam.
Right.
And they're all colour pictures.
Yeah, yeah.
Which obviously helps massively. So I get to see where Mk1s weather, the colour of the underframes, the ends, the fact that I always try to put rust on the end of a Mk1 if it's in maroon onwards, but if it's in blood and custard, I don't, because it wasn't really that you know, that common in that period. So I tend to do where they rot out at the bottom of the floor, where it turns underneath, just above the buffer beam height.
Yeah.
I tend to do there, and also the hinges tend to get a little bit, especially on blue grey, on the hinges themselves here. I tend to do some rust patches and also some slight rust patches around the window frames.
Yeah.
On the later models, which is what their Achilles heel at the end of the day, as preservationists realise now. And then obviously the next thing is the roofs themselves. Every roof, if you order, let's say 3 coaches from us, each coach will be painted, its roof individually shaded.
Yeah.
It will be slightly different in pigment. All I do is add black or white to the grey, plus or minus, depending, just to give that little bit of change when your coaches are running on your layout.
Yeah, of course, because they never were the same colour in real life. Some had faded, some had worn, tarnished, weathered. It's a varying degree. So it's easy to say then, really, to be fair, that it's not just a blanket, fire the airbrush up, give it a coat,
it's not, but
and leave it at that. It's,
you know, it is done to a price. However, it's more than just a standard weathering.
Something you've got to be proud of yourself to run.
It's like we had a gentleman about 3 weeks ago who ordered a BG, and he did ask for rust patches on the roof on a blue BG. So the roof was painted in brown, red oxide, and then copy decks, then painted back over in grey.
Yeah,
and then weathered as well. So he got quite a bespoke service, to be fair. I'm not saying we want to do that on every coach because there is a cost involved, but he did ask, and we decided we'd do the job right.
No, that's fair enough. So from start to finish then, roughly timescale,
in length of time. First job will be remove the wheel sets out of the coach. Reason for that is I hate on weathering when I see it where the wheel rims are not weathered. There's only the bottom, if you like, from there to there weathered, because nobody's bothered turning the wheel round. So what I will do is I will take the wheel sets out, paint them in an enamel brown colour initially.
Yeah.
Cover up the pickups on the pickup bogie so that they're not obviously covered. Once that's done, I will then, all the door frames and grooves around the doors and air vents for the toilet windows will be painted in black and wiped off. That gives you a shading effect which defines the door a lot more, which is just a nice little feature on them. They have that done, and then once that's done, they will then be numbered accordingly to region, crested if requested, first class put on them depending what the coach is. Yeah, the sides will then be masked off completely, and the coach will have an initial light varnishing of matte varnish. Two reasons for this: it helps the paint adhere to the roofs, which are just a plastic roof, but also later on in the process, because it is a multimedia style of weathering. I'm not just using paints. There are some weathering powders used as well to finish off with paint mixed together. It helps those adhere a lot better as well. And then once that's done, we'll come back in, roof the first thing to be painted, so it'll be painted in its shade, a particular shade of grey. There'll be some initial smoke and deposit weathering on the roof. Then once that's done, it will be the initial underframe dirt painted and wheel rims painted again then over the top of the enamel.
Right, I'm with you.
When that's done, they will get their initial coat of brake dust, weathering powders on them. When that's then done, I will then remove the masking tape off both sides. The sides will then be weathered in and more weathering round the ends and blended in. The vents for the toilets will be dusted with the spray gun upwards, so you've got a little bit of a dust pattern coming out of them, as you tend to see. I'll then change to a very dark grey, which will just highlight the bogies again and change the colour of the weathering powders that are on there so that they're not just a brown bogie, they're a two-tone, almost sometimes a three-tone bogie. A little bit more of the very dark grey on the sides, normally around the hinge area, etc. Depends on the customer specifications. If they don't want any on the sides, they won't get none on the sides. It depends what they order. A little bit more on the ends. Once that's done, I will then change to a almost black colour. They'll get the buffer heads done with oil patches. The axle boxes will be oil patched. There'll be some more weathering on the roofs again for dirt deposits, exhaust deposits, whether it be steam or diesel. It's still an exhaust deposit. And then finally, I will then brush paint brake blocks in. Spring detail will get some rust colours on them, some rust patches on the bogies themselves, just speckled throughout. There'll be some staining on the battery boxes, and some rust patches around the rivet detail and battery boxes, dynamos, that type of area underneath. The ends of the coaches will get some rust patches just above the buffer beam area where the buffer beam finishes, and same as on the pipe area. There'll also be some water staining on the pipes on the ends, on such as these here, which are obviously the fillers for the toilets. So there'll be some staining down there. Some water staining will be done in a very light grey, just so it shows, and some similar again on the battery box areas and things like that, just a little bit like staining underneath, possibly battery acid or something like that. And once that's done, then the windows will be completely cleaned with cotton wool buds. Not that they're dirty, but there's a little bit of residue from the coach side. But I will clean them. I won't send them out dirty. They'll be done. Coach wheels will be put back in. because they've obviously been weathered as well. I forgot to mention they would have been weathered on top of the enamel, and the same process as the bogies, so that they all match. Though they would go back in, upside down, back in, quick test to make sure the lighting units are working again, everything's fine, coat back together again in its box and off to the customer. Probably
Brilliant.
takes 3 hours, I would have thought, for a coach, 2.5 to 3 hours.
Not bad at all, is it? Especially to the level of detail that you end up going to.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say for the price and for what people paid for your weathering service on top of the coach, it's a pretty good deal, isn't it?
And things on like the sleepers or a restaurant car, such as here on the ducting for the air and heating units, they will be more done in initially in a rust colour, because they have a tendency with the hot and cold and condensation to blister more. And same as here on the exhaust units, they're the same, they would be done as well, and they contrast very nicely then when you start to see the grey roofs, the dust and dirt deposits on top, but initially underneath you've got a rust deterioration colour as well. They look very, very nice, and that's, like I say, the same on the restaurant coaches, where they've got the extraction fans and things like that on the top.
Of course,
so it's a little bit nicer to do like that. That's more or less it.
Fantastic. So quite an intensive programme really, from start to finish.
Yeah, and the only one we have missed as well is the Suburbans, if you've covered them at all.
Of course, no, that's going to be in a later feature.
Well,
so
there's
we're
a little bit to add on the Suburban, which we'll come to later.
We're going to hopefully continue with the series anyway. This is just the start of a very long process of what we're going to start filming and releasing. So, with, like you said there, we're going to cover the Suburbans. We're going to hopefully cover sort of a day in the life of your weathering bench.
Right, okay.
And just give people an idea of what, the process you've just walked us through. You'll be able to visually see it and fully understand where we start, where we finish, and what a day in the life of sort of Neil's workbench will be a good one, I think.
Yeah.
So on that, I think thank you very much for taking
Chris.
the time out of your weathering.
I'm going to go back and weather a Mark 1 now.
Yeah, nice. Well, so we'll call Ellis back.
Yeah.
And we'll catch up with you after, Neil. Thank you
Cheers,
very much.
thank you.
Cheers.
Right, so you've obviously heard a bit from Neil about all the weathering he's done and how he does it and how the order comes through, yada yada yada. So basically we're just going to talk a little bit about the coach types we do, the liveries, and so on. So to give you the facts, these are all the coach types that we do. I think it's easier just to list them out and then go from there. So starting, we've got SK for second class, CK composite class, then we've got BSK brake second class, then we've got Taurus second opens, TSOs, FKs first classes, we've got BCKs brake composite classes, then we've got BSOs brake second opens, we've got RMBs miniature buffets, we've got RUs restaurant kitchens, then we've got RSOs, which is a restaurant second open, RFOs restaurant first open, and then only in maroon and blue and grey we've got the sleepers, which we've shown you, and also we've got the full brakes, which we've talked about. They're in all the main liveries, but we also, as we say, we've got different ones like the Royal Mails and the blue and stuff as well. Livery wise, from sort of introductory years, if you like, we've got blood and custard, then we've got maroon, chalk and cream, southern green, then a bit later we've got blue grey, then we've got intercity, and as I said, we also do the West Highland, both early and late liveries, which is the sort of green and cream livery, the early one having the Scotty dog.
Just a quick one on that. A lot of people think the West Highland sets were specifically for the West Island line. I saw a picture just the other day that they were using them out of season down. I think the picture was at Retford Station.
Did they like nick them basically?
They became, from what I understand, was Tory, just classed as Tory stock in the end. So there's an excuse there potentially to run further down south than you would in Scotland. So it was interesting. I just come across it on the internet, and I was like, that's not in the normal place for that colour, for the type of stock. But yeah, apparently they used them for it's like a tourist set more than
Yeah.
anything else.
Well, I was talking to you about this the other day, wasn't I? That I tried to get your getting your modern image head, and I said, what, like with the Mk1s and stuff, they've got that set almost like articulated running rake, haven't they?
Yeah.
But in like Mk1s and things, the colours mixed in rakes and borrowing coaches and left, right, and centre. I mean, it's not unusual that you'd have almost 4 different colours in a full train. You might have some in maroon, some in chalk and cream, some still in blood and custard.
Especially in that transition period when it became sort of down to the maroon livery, they were just chucking everything what they had from wherever.
It took them ages to repaint them, didn't it, as well? And some of them they just skipped to repaint, say, from blood and custard through to maroon to then blue and grey. Some of the blue and custard ones would have made it all the way through probably to
Just
blue
about,
and grey.
Yeah, of course,
if they needed them basically on the railway, didn't they? So
the Mk1s are such a, I suppose, a unique example of a coaching stock that literally went everywhere. There's not a part of the country that I can't think of as ever not seen a Mk1.
Yeah.
And they're just so well travelled. It's good to know that, obviously, like you said, we cover all of the sort of main sort of up to the early 90s liveries.
Yeah.
We don't quite cover anything later at the moment, but that's something we could always look at in the future. Up to the Intercity and blue and grey especially, they're the main sort of diesel electric era colours.
Definitely.
And then, like you said, you cover everything pre that.
Yeah.
From maroon right down to, like, the greens and the chalk and creams and bits and pieces like that.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the BGs. Like I said, we cover departmental, Royal Mail parcels, green, again, all the main colours.
Yeah.
And we've still got a good stock of everything apart from the BSKs.
Yeah, they sold out unbelievably quickly.
We've got some Intercity BSKs left, this is one of them.
Yeah.
But all the main colours have gone now, haven't they, for the BSKs? And it's something we're looking at rerunning in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
As demand grows. But that comes back to the point before, that if people think there's liveries that we're missing, then let us know. We can look at them as an option to do a rerun with.
Yeah. Well, they definitely drop us something in the comments if you've got ideas, you want to see things, or just general questions. We're always listening out here. It's one of the good things about the showroom, isn't it? The amount of people that come along and tell us things. Or, And
one of the good things I think about the Darstaed Mk1s is they come as standard with KD couplings.
Yeah.
Now, as a modeler, as a 7mm modeler myself, there's nothing worse than trying to couple screw links or chain links underneath gangway ends.
Yeah, exactly.
A nightmare.
Exactly.
And as part of that, the gangway ends come with magnets in, so they close couple and they sit together, and you can see there the KDs connect up, and then they close couple and they stay together.
Brilliant round corners, and it's a robust system as well, because one of the challenges I know Darstaed had when they did this was making sure when it's taking a lot of impact and a lot of movement that it didn't come adrift or break or something. These are free of charge, by the way, the blanking plates, as we call them, which sit on the end like that. Because some people see the magnets and think, oh, they're quite ugly on the end, but that's obviously when we put the plate on at the end, it
just seals them off nice. It gives them a nice finish at the end.
Exactly.
And they come with brake lamps. We had one somewhere.
Yeah, working brake lamps. Is this one? Yeah, that one's got one on the. I'll take the plate off so I can be seen a bit better. But they've got working brake lamps as well, and fully interior lighted as standard as well. I don't know if we've mentioned that.
Is that the same with the BG?
Same with the BG.
So And if I remember rightly, there's a switch on the pickup bogie.
Yeah.
So again, we'll probably do just a quick cutaway just so you can see it a bit closer, and you get a switch there. You can turn them on and off. And then there's pickups to the 2 axles, and then you've got just a trailing bogie at the end. And another point, in fact, while I've got this in my hand, is there's 2 types of bogie that come with the Darstaed Mk1s. We do the Commonwealths and the BR Mk1s. So again, you get a choice of bogies. If you can, we're not adverse to swapping them. So if you do choose a vehicle that should come with BR Mk1s, for example, this TSO, and you want Commonwealths, we can swap them out. It's
no problem at all. No problem at all.
as Neil said back in his little piece about the weathering, the KDs they literally are standard KDs, so they're screwed in with 2 screws, and we do a coupling pack that we can provide.
Yeah.
So you can change out any vehicle,
couplings,
from KDs to screw links.
Yeah.
So it's quite an intensive range.
Yeah, it really is. It really is, and we'll as we do more and more videos, you'll see with all the different, and especially the Thompson coaches, which are due for release later this year, you'll see how comprehensive what we do with Dastard is, and
because we're yourself, you're a bit of a modeler as well, aren't you, Ellis?
Yeah.
So there's the 3 of us are modelers, and the one thing we don't like is not being able to do a particular train or fulfill like a, there's some big name trains out there and they had certain carriages in, and some people aren't too overly worried about that, but some people really do want to make a proper prototypical train.
Yeah.
So the good thing about the Darstaed range is you've literally got every type of BR Mark 1 mainline vehicle, right from brakes up to restaurants.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's an intensive list of there's three or four different restaurant vehicles that you can choose from. Open stock, corridor stock, brakes. There's 3 different brake vehicles, not including the BG, so that's 4. You've literally the world's your oyster. Like I said, we're sold out on the BSKs at the moment, but a rerun has been talked about at some point. And the world's your oyster, because we offer so many different variants. You could make 3 different rakes of trains up, like 4 or 5 carriage trains, and each carriage could be different. Across the rakes.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's good. It's just a good little handy thing to know that we do such a range.
Exactly.
So just a quick one about the boxes. In the boxes, obviously, we mentioned that you get your transfer sheets. And they're, like we said, they mentioned they're specific to the vehicle. So if you buy a TSR, you'll get a specific TSR transfer sheet. The same with any other vehicle; it'll be numbered and sort of stenciled up for that vehicle. So you won't get a random set of numbers. They've all been researched. You've got appropriate running numbers for the type of vehicle, and you also get a nice little booklet. It's like the range. It's quite a comprehensive booklet. It's a good one. It's 20 pages long, but that gives you a really detailed history.
It does. Yeah, it does.
We won't go through that now.
No.
But in there you get a really good history of where the Mark 1s come from, what the reasoning behind them from the BR board was initially, down to when things change with them. You get a nice list there of all the coach types. And the colours that we offer in the mainline stock, and then again just some extra resources, information if you want to do a big dive into what the Mark 1s are and were. There's some good reading in there. I was having a read through the other day, and it's quite a good little sort of resource just to learn about the vehicles.
It is.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, I'm sure there's something we've forgotten. There'll be a few things, but that's what the comments is there for and stuff.
Absolutely.
And so thank you very much for joining us. And as I say, this is going to be the first of many videos I think we'll do. And like you say, probably the next one's going to be on the Mark 1 Suburbans, and then we'll take you on to lots of other projects and fill you in. And this will be a good little thing. So thank you very much for joining us, and take care.
Brilliant. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.